Welcome to Northern Vibes, your go to podcast for everything Northern Denver.
From everything Denver to Fort Collins, we're your local real estate experts shining a light on the incredible quality of life in the area.
We're going to cover local businesses, attractions, events, and interviews with experts, all while educating and empowering you to understand why the Northern Denver area is the best place to be.
Amen, sister.
You bet.
My name is Ann Wymore with Navigate Realty, and today on Northern Vibes, we are with
Hey, Wilson Miller with Direct Lending Team.
and our special guest today is Dexter Beasley with Foco Cafe. So, Dexter, can you tell us a little bit about Foco Cafe and how you started there?
Yeah, absolutely. I just want to say thank you for having me on today. Really appreciate the chance to share what we do with more people. I'm biased, obviously, but I'm a huge fan of Foco Cafe. And even if I weren't the executive director there, I would definitely be going on a regular basis because it's just such a cool model. But the way I got involved with Foco Cafe, which has now been around about 10 and a half years, is that I came up to Fort Collins to go to school at CSU, and I had been working in small business restaurants basically since I could work. I went to CSU hoping to go into nonprofit work. And so when I graduated and found Foco Cafe, I realized, it was really the perfect blend of applying what I know from working in these small business restaurants and managing small business restaurants, and then learning hands on about the nonprofit concepts that I had learned about in school. I actually started as operations manager. So I was doing day to day kind of front of house operations, taking orders, coordinating volunteers. But 6 months in, the previous director announced that she was leaving, and on a whim, I threw my hat in the ring, fully not expecting to get it. I was 6 months into my first nonprofit job. Why would they put me in charge? But yeah, much to my surprise, about 4 days later, the board unanimously voted me in as executive director, and that was something like 2.5 years ago now. So it's been a huge learning curve. Definitely kind of hit the ground running, trial by fire. But at this point, I definitely have my feet under me a bit more and just couldn't be happier to be part of this awesome resource.
Well, can you tell us a little bit more for the people out there who don't know what Foco Cafe is all about and kind of explain how to go and when your hours are?
Absolutely. So, I guess at our base, we're a lunch restaurant here in Fort Collins. We're open 6 days a week, Monday through Saturday, from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. So it really just is that lunch service. And I start with that because when people hear nonprofit restaurant, the first thing they think is soup kitchen or food bank, a resource just for people who don't have access to food otherwise. But we're really here for everybody in the community. What makes us special is that we operate on a pay what you can scale. So folks can come in, give a dollar, $5, $15, $50, and they get the same access to delicious, healthy, locally focused, and fresh made food. We've got soups, salads, sandwiches, sides, sweets, all those fun S words. But something that has really taken off in the last couple of years and has always been core to our mission is our meal exchange program. And through that program, people can, we like to say, pay with their time and talent or volunteer in exchange for their meal. So that way, everybody who comes in is contributing in some way for their meal, which really kind of dispels the sense of otherness, really offers a sense of dignity and respect, knowing that this meal that you got is not a handout, it's a hand up. Everybody who comes in is giving what they're able to and getting access to the same food, whether it's local billionaires or people experiencing homelessness, single moms, working families, whoever it is, city employees, county employees. You're coming in, getting delicious food, and getting to share space with people that you might not otherwise have the opportunity to.
It
Well,
always reminds me of that tacky joke my grandpa used to say, when you're a little kid, he's like, well, he acts like he can't find his wallet. Looks like we're doing dishes. You know what I mean? But that's an amazing structure. I love that.
I'm super excited to go check it out. So you said that a lot of the food is locally sourced. And tell us a little bit about like where you guys get your food. That's pretty
Yeah,
interesting.
absolutely. So we do go to food wholesalers like most restaurants do to fill in what we have to make sure that our menu is consistent, reliable, high quality. But we really try to source as much locally as we can, especially produce. We're very fortunate that on our property, we actually have a garden that another nonprofit operates for us. That nonprofit is the Cultural Enrichment Center. But
Uh-huh.
during the growing season, we get, thousands of pounds of produce from the garden right outside the cafe, whether it's zucchini, tomatoes, herbs, really you name it. And that helps us uh, really be part of the whole food cycle there and know that the ingredients we are using are high quality, not certified organic, but essentially organically grown without pesticides. And we also have a lot of local donors, whether they're individuals, local farms, or there's several local churches with gardens that will also come by and donate produce to us. And we take what we're able to and work into our regular menu items. And then we have a few special menu items as well, where we can take ingredients that are not in our standard items and kind of work them in through seasonal harvest salads, baked goodie of the day. We have a seasonal fruit crisp. Sometimes that's apple, sometimes it's rhubarb, really just whatever we get donated. And that allows us to offer a consistent menu, but also have some diversity while within our seasonal menus.
Well, it makes sense to me because I am a gardener, so I'm always trying to give away zucchini. So I do understand maybe sometimes having to turn things away
Mhm.
because you get probably quite a bit of zucchini during the season. I know that that's pretty plentiful. So are you guys run by primarily through volunteers, or like how much of your staff is volunteers and how much of it is a paid workforce?
Yeah, so as we are right now, we have three full-time staff and one part-time. I've got my assistant director, Mark Betts, our executive chef, Taylor Brotherton, and then Catherine Townsend is an assistant chef. We also have a few folks through external programs that help out essentially as part-time employees and then are paid through that external program. So that gives us the consistency of an employee without the cost associated. But we do have volunteers every day that really make our work possible. As I mentioned earlier, our meal exchange program allows folks to come in and volunteer for their meal. That's usually, 5, 10, maybe 15 minutes of volunteering. But we also have online signups where folks go to our website and can see a list of all of the shifts we have upcoming, both
Oh,
front of
okay.
house and back of house, either morning or afternoon, because there's a lot of work that goes into getting ready for lunch service before we open. So I'd say on any given day, we probably have somewhere between 3 to 6 volunteers helping out in addition to our staff. And really, on site, we usually only have one or two full-time staff members, kind of working with those volunteers to make it all happen.
Oh,
That's
that
pretty
sounds
cool.
super.
I was gonna say, congrats, kudos to those chefs because they have to be pretty creative with the
Oh yeah.
ongoing menus and the ongoing ingredients, and that's pretty
Mhm.
awesome.
Yeah, they
Yeah.
do such a good job. I mean, it's great for all of our guests that I am not back there in the kitchen. My cooking is serviceable, but especially our executive chef Taylor just does a great job making. I, I think off the top of my head, we have over a dozen individual items, and really just making the most out of what we're able to get donated
Right.
and feed as many people as possible, as high quality as possible, without spending any more than we really have to.
Yeah, that's creative. That's amazing, man. That really is. And then do you
So
guys, a lot of this stuff, and especially are we doing big fundraisers, annual, quarterly, or what kind of fundraiser setup are you guys looking at?
Yeah, so we have our a couple main ones. One is our anniversary, which is on Thanksgiving Day. We do a big Thanksgiving lunch service serving over 200 people throughout the day. And that's the one day that you really can get a completely free meal. I mean, you can come in, pay what you're able to, or you can just get a meal paid for by the rest of the community, paying it forward. That's not a huge moneymaker for us. I mean, certainly we do have a lot of generous community members coming in and supporting us on that day, but that's more just about celebrating what we've been able to do. Most nonprofits close within 5 years, so the fact that we've made it 10 makes each one of those anniversaries even sweeter. But then our biggest money making day or really night of the year is on Colorado Gives Day in December.
yeah.
We have our Party with a Purpose and Odell Brewery lets us use their space for free and host hundreds of people coming in celebrating with us. And we try to work with local businesses, sponsors to do matching opportunities. And in 2024, that Party with a Purpose raised, we had a goal of $40,000 and we raised, I believe, $57,000. And that was compared to only 19,000 brought in through the same fundraiser the previous year. So last year we
Wow.
saw this huge uptick, really a tripling of community support through that single effort, which is great because our meal exchange program, especially, has been growing just exponentially over the last few years. So we raised enough to cover all of the ingredient costs for our meal exchange program for a year and then some.
That is
Man.
so, so amazing. Another thing that I have to ask is how big is your garden up front? Because if you're feeding that many people, your garden
Yeah.
has got to be pretty big.
Yeah, I think we've got about a dozen planters. Like I said, it's another nonprofit that does most of the gardening. Similar story to the kitchen. It's probably best that I'm not out there and I'm more behind the scenes or doing things like this. This is my area of strength, and gardening and cooking definitely aren't. But yeah, I was just hugely impressed last year. We got about 2,000 pounds of produce out of the garden, out of a dozen or so planter beds. And
That's,
that's all, again, thanks to the Cultural Enrichment Center just making that happen.
oh, that's amazing. So you went to school at CU and got your degree. And then can you tell us a little bit about how you got into Foco Cafe? What
Sure.
your journey has been?
Yeah, so I went to CSU. I actually originally started looking towards early childhood education. I was about halfway through college when I decided I wanted to go into nonprofit work. And so I graduated in 2021 with a bachelor's in, and this is a mouthful, so get ready, but human development and family studies with a concentration in leadership and entrepreneurial professions, which really means I want to help people and I want to be a leader in
Yeah.
doing so. And so, as I mentioned earlier, I had a lot of experience in small business restaurants. I had an education in nonprofit leadership, and Foco Cafe just seemed like the perfect opportunity to bring those two things together. But the mission is especially important to me because I grew up in a pretty well off area. I went to Cherry Creek High School, and people who know that's a high school predominantly full of people who are pretty comfortable financially. But for a long time, we were living on my mom's sole income of $16 an hour. We were a family of five, and I got really good at looking like I had money, just like everybody else. I got really good at convincing everybody at lunchtime that I had just eaten or I wasn't hungry, when the reality was that I couldn't afford to go out and eat the same way that all my friends could. That's also why one aspect of Foco Cafe really resonates with me, which is that we don't require people to prove that they're in need to access our pay what you can scale or meal exchange program. We know that implementing barriers or collecting that sort of demographic
Yeah.
information presents a huge barrier to people, and that we are not going to be as good at identifying people's need as they themselves will be. So I just thought that was such a cool concept. This restaurant that's there for everybody in the community, where you don't have to come in and feel the stigma of not being able to pay for your own meal. You don't have to qualify under a certain income threshold. Really, everybody can come in, get what they need, and give what they're able.
To me, that's just amazing. And it is really nice when you can go out with friends and you don't have to worry about how you're going to pay for something or how it's going to look or if they're going to think a certain way. So where are you guys located in Fort Collins?
We're just right on the north side of Old Town. We're right by Eco Thrift, if you know where that is, but
Mhm.
we're at 225 Maple Street, which is right between House and Mason on Maple on the north side of Old Town. So really just a couple blocks away from all the other businesses, but just tucked away enough that we don't tend to get as much foot traffic. And really, it's things like this that allow me to get the word out.
So
Are
what
you gonna,
other social media platforms are you guys on? What
yeah.
can we shout out for you and what can we do as a community to get more awareness to your cafe?
Yeah, we've got Instagram and Facebook. I'll say our Instagram is definitely a little more active than our Facebook, and that's just at Foco Cafe. We also have our website, fococafe.org, and you can learn more about us there, sign up to volunteer or sign up to donate. Both of those are great ways to support Foco Cafe. We've got, I think, about 100 sustaining members. So that's folks who have committed to donating what they're able to on a monthly basis, ranging anywhere from $10 to one of our donors does $200 a month, which is just incredible seeing that kind of support. And the consistency of that allows us to get through the tighter times because we are so reliant on fundraisers and grant funding. Some parts of the year we're just flush with cash, and other parts I got to get really creative to make sure we're able to hit payroll. So those sustaining memberships are one of the best ways to support us. But truly, my favorite way to have people come in and support us is just joining us for lunch. Like I said, we're here for everybody in the community. And if you want a delicious meal, soup, salad, sandwiches, whatever it is, and you want to support your community while you're doing it, since you're going to have to pay for your food anyway, come into Foco Cafe, just see what we're all about, and get involved, because when we all act local, that's when the real action happens.
Well,
I mean,
I just
that's a
think
good
that's
point. If you're going to pay for your food anyway, and you're going to go out to eat, that'd be my, stick right there. Hey, we're already going to pay for it anyway. So let's
well,
go
I have
eat
a big
here.
question here. I have a huge question. What's your favorite meal?
Oh, so we change our
Or
menu seasonally. I'd say on our current menu, I'm really liking this curried lentil bowl that we have. I always go with an almond bar as one of my sides. That's one of our most famous desserts. We took it off the menu once and did not hear the end of it. That was partially me talking to our chef every day, when are we bringing the almond bar back? And then I'll usually get a side salad, either a Caesar or we've got a spring salad right now that's also delicious.
Okay, so and I'm gonna go with one more. Other than the almond bar, what is your most favorite dessert you've ever had there?
I have to say our seasonal fruit crisp, especially,
Mm.
we've got this one donor in the community who will bring by rhubarb a couple of times a year. And so when we make that fruit crisp with rhubarb, it just takes me back to family reunions or weekends with my grandma. So it's really hard to beat.
Well, and
Yeah,
I
it
think
sounds like
that's
somebody's hungry over there.
I may be, but I mean, I think that that's really what you guys are trying to get at is creating memories and making sure those memories aren't stigmatized by money.
Mhm.
Absolutely. Yeah, we want everybody to come into Foco Cafe and leave remembering it as a place where they felt comfortable, ate some of the best food they've ever had, and got to connect with people that they wouldn't have gotten to know otherwise.
Well, we will definitely like post all we can on our social medias, get that out there. I'm a little bit older than you, so I'll hit the Facebook, but Wilston's great on Instagram, so he'll hook that one up. So I just wanted to
Old,
say
I'm just
thank
immature.
yeah. So I just want to say thank you again, Dexter from Foco Cafe, for explaining all the wonderful things you do for the Fort Collins community. And honestly, not just for Fort Collins, but for Colorado and everything, because, we all come together as one, and maybe some entrepreneur or someone like yourself or someone older like me sees something that you guys are doing and is able to replicate that and help serve a lot more people. So I just want to say thank you so much for your time and your staff. Like, I know it's not easy working for a nonprofit. When things are really, really great, they're great. And then when you get a little bit low, so thank you for your dedication to serving people. It's amazing.
Absolutely. Thank
So,
you for having me on and letting me share more about what we do so, other people can learn about the cafe. Because I lived in Fort Collins for 5 years before I knew it existed. So if I can just get a few more people to hear about it and come on in, I don't think they'll regret trying us out.
That's it.
well,
We'll
I
blast it
know
all over socials for you. And
I went up
spread the word.
to I went up to Sweet Garden this weekend.
Hmm.
And I absolutely could have stopped. So I definitely am going to keep you guys in mind because I go up there quite a bit. So thank you again so much. So this is Ann Wymore with Navigate Realty,
Wilson Miller with Direct Lending Team.
and we are your host for Northern Vibes, all things Colorado. And we just want to say thank you again to Dexter. Thank you, and we'll talk to you soon, okay? Good luck with
Great.
everything.
Thank you
Have a
both.
good summer.
Later,
You too.
gang.
Thanks for listening. This is Ann Wymore with Navigate Realty. And if you missed important information from this episode, check us out on Facebook at Northern Vibes Colorado.
And this is Wilson Miller with Source Mortgage Group. Also follow us on YouTube at Northern Vibes CO.